All right, so odds are if you're watching this video, you yourself have a 3-liter TDI made by Volkswagen in some regard, rather it be an Audi, a VW, or a Porsche. And you've got a leaking oil cooler or an EGR cooler that is hidden underneath your intake manifold on your 3-liter TDI. And this goes for the CNRB model specifically. And you've gone ahead and potentially even already replaced the whole EGR cooler or the whole oil cooler, which is that guy right down there. Now, as you can see, I've already done what we're going to talk about today, and that is the little bypass valve that has this nice shiny new line on it here, made by my buddy over at SUSTDI.com, and I will show you guys that part now. But essentially, what that replaces is this entire piece right here, which gets rid of the finicky vacuum actuator that not a ton of people actually talk about being a potential leak down inside the 3-liter valley of these super finicky TDI engines. Now, what actually happens is if you see in here, there's this little shaft that goes in the middle of this valve that essentially opens and closes to allow coolant to flow. Now, this shaft has a fancy little O-ring on the inside of here that likes to fail, and then you essentially have to replace this entire bypass valve. Now, my buddy at SUSTDI has one of these, and I'm going to show you guys how to install it now. And you can actually do this without having to take the intake manifold off if you have already done the EGR delete kit. I have one from Darkside, but my buddy over at SUSTDI also makes his own, so you can grab one of those as well. But I'm going to show you guys how to replace it without taking your intake manifold off, mainly because I have grubby little hands and it is super easy. So let's jump right into doing it. And I don't know if you guys can see, and I'll try and stick my phone down in here, but we are leaking from somewhere down here again. So that's lots of fun. And I'm assuming it's coming from that valve because I've looked under there with a mirror and had a look, and that, like I said, that little thing that I used to plug the vacuum valve on the original one seems to be a little bit wet. So we're gonna do that, put this guy in here, and so let's give it a go. So one important thing, as per usual, when we're doing this job, I have the shop vac hooked up because once we undo the lines, we kind of want to start sucking up the coolant immediately, just so that any contaminated coolant that mixes with any dirt or anything that's in the valley doesn't end up back in the system. So we're going to start by undoing this hose clamp down here, let the coolant flow out of here, get as much as that cleaned up because we're going to have to get everything that's out of the bypass kit up in here out. And then anything that decides it's going to want to flow out of the head. So I'm assuming we're probably going to see about 2 liters come out of there. So I will get the pliers out and we will free up that line first and then see how we get on from there. Okay, so we've got that one backed off quite a bit, if it'll focus. There we go. So we should be able to have enough space to kind of wiggle this off. And I might have to back it down a little bit more than that, but I'll get that guy popped off here in a second. It's just open now. So now we have to worry about getting the 3 bolt holes for the new one, or I guess the 3 bolts. So they're T25s, I believe. So we just have to get those ones out. This one down here is going to be the hardest because it's going to be blocked by that pipe, obviously, but shouldn't be too difficult if you've got small hands. But I've cracked the valve loose now, so we're just sucking it all out. All the coolant that's coming with it. This will probably take a couple more minutes and then we'll be able to lift the valve right out. Okay, so I got this guy wiggled out here. So as you can see, this is kind of what I did. I had it jimmy rigged, JB welded, and I had an O-ring in here, and clearly it wasn't enough because as you can see, there's quite a bit of coolant buildup on there. So that guy's going in the bin. It did serve us well for almost a year. I'll leave this over here, do a little bit of cleanup, and then slap our new guy in there. And I'm also missing a bolt that I gotta find, but we'll clean this up and we'll be right back. So like I said, the beauty of this new one, and shout out Dimitri, I'll have the link in the description for this guy if you want to pick this up to do this upgrade, is no more vacuum stuff on here. It's just a straight valve, nothing to leak, and it's billet aluminum. So never going to explode. Everything else will probably fail before this thing does. So brand new OEM gasket in here too. We got the elbow as well. Going to go ahead and slap this in here, but I'm not sure if we're going to be able to do it with the hose on here. So I'm going to do it with the hose off just to maybe potentially complicate things a little bit more. So I'll take this guy off and then we will show you it all bolted up in here. The valve is in, definitely nicer, a little bit more real estate. Now it's going to be connecting these 2 ports together is going to be the hard part. So I'll try and get these on here and I'll explain to you guys how I did it if it's easy. And then if it's not, I'll
give you some pointers on how to do it.
But it's in there. I'll put the torque specs on the screen now, and here we go. There's no real trick to getting them on there. The only thing that was really difficult was getting the bottom hose clamp on because it's so close to the CP3, or sorry, the CP4, the high pressure fuel pump. So they're both on there. We're gonna fill our coolant up here, and then we're gonna bleed it. I'm just gonna pull the top hose off here because that's kind of the highest point in the motor now, and just get some of the air out. And it will clean up all in here and call it a job done.